For the past few months, concerns have been raised by politicians, activists, and whistleblowers as well that Louis DeJoy and his changes to the post office have not only made it more difficult for mail to be delivered in a timely fashion, as the post office is supposed to do, but is also setting the stage potentially for massive problems with the surge in mail-in voting that's likely to come in the general election later on this year. Well, at least as of right now, many of those changes will be put on hold and some reversed, thanks to a court decision that just came down in the last day, with Stanley Bastian, Chief Judge of the US District Court for the Eastern District of Washington, saying that policies put in place, quote, likely will slow down delivery of ballots this fall, creating a, quote, substantial possibility that many voters will be disenfranchised and the states may not be able to effectively, timely, accurately determine election outcomes. So, by the way, just in terms of how they put that, Trump should love this because he's been so worried about a timely resolution of the election. So, what does Stanley Bastian actually think should be done? Well, a little bit more from that decision says that the states have demonstrated that the defendants, this is 13 different states, by the way, are involved in a politically motivated attack on the efficiency of the Postal Service. They've also demonstrated that this attack on the Postal Service is likely to irreparably harm the state's ability to administer the 2020 general election. Goes on to finally say, it is easy to conclude that the recent Postal Service's changes is an intentional effort on the part of the current administration to disrupt and challenge the legitimacy of upcoming local, state, and federal elections. So we're gonna talk about what's gonna change as a result of this in just a bit. But Brett, it's not just, we acknowledge that this has had an effect, but I don't often see judges willing to so specifically say, here is why it was done. Here is what I believe the intent was behind these changes.
I mean, that was implied in the at least temporary block on Trump's Muslim ban. And it's very obvious that that's what's happened. And there's a lot of judges at a lot of different levels of our federal court system. And yes, you were gonna find, I mean, this is the right judge who actually has no problems coming forward and saying this because it's true. Once you're in there as a judge, it depends on what kind of judge. You're either there for life or you have to be elected. But yeah, I think this is the right choice. And I think this is something that somebody had to say. And now it's in the record. And it's something that we were all thinking. Now, is this going to last? Who knows? But I think and will it be appealed? Absolutely. Where does it get appealed to? These things go, or some version of it, or some other counter challenge or parallel challenge might make its way to the Supreme Court. And it is necessary. And what is it incumbent upon us to do? Get someone there who will keep these kinds of things in check. This is an assault on the Constitution, what the president has done. This is an assault on the fundamental premise of democracy. And it's not the only thing. Like, it's not like if we block the interference by the president in mail-in voting, that this is the only thing we need to do and suddenly democracy will be restored and the confetti will fall and bells will ring out. We did it. No, this is one of a million things that people need to do to protect their democracy, both from Democrats and Republicans. That's why we need to have an accurate census. That's why we need to have state legislatures that actually reflect that are not gerrymandered. Then we need independent commissions to draw the district lines, regardless of who, regardless of who's in power at the time. And how do we know that this thing needs to be done? Because look at all the state legislatures in every state throughout the country. Whoever had the power to draw the district last, and then the congressional districts for the US Congress, whoever had the power to draw the districts last, drew them insanely to benefit them. And you go state by state. We've done it on this show and on every show on the network in the past, gone through states and saying what percentage of people voted for which party. Okay, that's one number. What percentage of the state and US federal congressional seats belong to which party? Those are two different numbers and they're not close. They're seldom ever close. And we need to fix that. This is one of the things that we need to do to protect our democracy because it is always already under siege.
Yeah, and I would say it's not like the I guess the two paths we can go down is we either have a massively manipulated election, or all of a sudden things are great. This is like, we should be fighting back against things like this to just get back to the many different layers slightly more subtle voter suppression that were already in place, in a million different ways. Some of it literally structurally how representation is allocated, to the gerrymandering, to a million different things. It's become so blatant, so over the top that you replace the head of the post office with a guy who comes in and immediately grinds to a halt the ability of the post office to deliver mail. That should be too obvious, I think. Like when they go in and they go to a state and they decide, oh no, we're gonna for some reason, we're gonna take away 500 polling places, and where are we gonna do it? I don't know, where do black people live? We're just gonna go and we're gonna take all of those out. Like there should be a level that is too unsubtle even for America and its lack of, real respect for substantive democracy going back to its founding.
Yeah.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.